It was a letter written in the shadow of goodbye, a private message from a daughter to her dying father. But this was no ordinary family correspondence. This was a letter from Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, to Thomas Markle. And its contents, its very existence, have become the epicenter of a mystery that speaks to the very heart of the Sussex saga. Why, in an age of instant connection, did she choose the permanence of pen and paper for her final words? And with the world watching, and her father now gone, a chilling question hangs in the air. When will she choose to let those words speak to the world? If you believe the true story of Meghan Markle is written in the spaces between public image and private pain, you need to hear this. This is Royal Report 24/7. What we're about to delve into is a story of grief, strategy, and a document that could detonate the fragile peace. Subscribe now. Hit like. Share this immediately. The truth is always in the details. The backdrop to this letter is a wound that never healed. The fractured relationship between Meghan and her father, Thomas Markle, is the original sin of the Sussex narrative. The staged paparazzi photos before the wedding, the missed walk down the aisle, the relentless media interviews, it created a chasm of betrayal and public humiliation that, according to all reports, proved impossible to bridge. For years, communication was conducted through lawyers and tabloid headlines, a brutal proxy war that left both sides scarred. Then came the news of Thomas Markle's declining health. Insiders close to the situation, speaking to Royal Report 24/7 on condition of anonymity, describe a period of agonizing internal conflict for Meghan. On one hand, the daughter who remembered a different man, the one who drove her to set visits and supported her dreams. On the other, the public figure who had been profoundly wounded, whose trust had been shattered on a global stage. The pressure, these sources suggest, was immense. Every move was scrutinized. A phone call could be recorded, leaked, misinterpreted. A private visit was a logistical and security nightmare. Silence, however, carried its own terrible weight. And so, she chose the letter. According to reports confirmed by both Sussex associates and Thomas Markle himself before his passing, Meghan sent a handwritten, several-page letter to her father in the summer of 2023. It was, by all accounts, her final attempt at communication. But the choice of medium is itself a message to be decoded. From the Sussex corner, the narrative is different. Associates of the couple have implied, without revealing specifics, that the letter was a necessary act of boundary setting from a woman who had been exploited for years. It was her chance, they suggest, to articulate her pain on her own terms, free from the manipulative dynamic of direct contact. It was closure, however painful, for her. This is where the story transforms from a private tragedy into a public time bomb. Thomas Markle is now gone. That letter is one of the last direct, unfiltered communications from Meghan Markle about the most defining personal rupture of her life. It is in the cold calculus of modern media, an artifact of immense value and power, which leads us to the question that has royal commentators, publishers, and palace aides alike on edge. When will it be leaked? Or perhaps more accurately, when will it be published? The ownership of the letter is a murky legal and ethical minefield. Who possesses it now? If it was among Thomas Markle's effects, who inherited it? The potential for it to be sold to a media outlet is, according to publishing insiders we contacted, extremely high. The bidding would be frenzied. But there is another, more calculated possibility, one that aligns with the Sussexes' pattern of controlling their narrative through their own platforms. Could Meghan herself choose to reveal it? Consider the strategic landscape. The Sussex brand is built on narrative control. The Netflix documentary, the Spotify deal, the memoir. They have consistently fought to tell their story their way. This letter is the ultimate raw material for that story. By releasing it, perhaps in a future documentary episode, a chapter in a book, or even a curated reading on her upcoming podcast, Meghan would achieve several things. She would definitively own the narrative of the rift, presenting her side in her own handwriting. She would preempt any tabloid leak, draining its sensational power. And she could frame it as an act of vulnerability and truth-telling, a final chapter in her journey of healing. However, the risks of such a move are catastrophic. Releasing private correspondence with a deceased parent could be seen by the public as a profound violation of taste and privacy, regardless of the provocation. It would re-traumatize any surviving members of the Markle family. It would likely be portrayed by her critics as a cold, calculated exploitation of a personal tragedy for commercial or reputational gain. It would open her up to accusations of having never truly sought peace, only the last word. The palace, we are told, watches this potentiality with dread. For the institution, any fresh explosion of the Markle drama is a distraction they cannot afford, especially during a period of transition and a king's illness. It drags the royal family back into a toxic, personal saga they have desperately tried to wall themselves off from. Courtiers fear it would trigger another cycle of headlines, pulling focus from their work and forcing the Waleses, yet again, to navigate the splash damage. There's a haunting historical echo here. The ghost of Princess Diana's Panorama interview, where she spoke of her pain and betrayal, looms large. That was a televised spoken letter to the world that changed everything. Meghan's handwritten pages hold a similar latent power. They are a frozen moment of private anguish that, if released, would become a public referendum on her father, and the price of fame. Yes, we are left in a state of suspended anticipation. The letter exists. Its content is a rumor, a shadow, but it is the most potent, unexploded piece of the Meghan Markle story. Will it emerge in a chaotic tabloid splash, sold by a distant relative? Or will it be unveiled with cinematic precision on a Netflix title card, narrated by the Duchess herself in a moment of curated catharsis? Every public appearance Meghan makes now is watched for a clue. Every project announcement is scanned for a hint. The world knows this document is out there. And in a high-stakes arena where personal history becomes global commodity, its revelation is not a matter of if, but when and how. For Meghan, it represents the last, unedited voice of the woman she was before a crown was offered and a family was broken. It is a message in a bottle, cast adrift in a sea of betrayal. And sooner or later, the tide will bring it to shore for all of us to read, that we will be monitoring every development, every whisper from publishing and legal circles. Because when this letter surfaces, it will redefine the story once more. This is Royal Report 24/7. If you want to understand the profound personal history behind the headlines and be the first to know when this private document becomes public, you must stay with us. Subscribe, hit that like button, and share this analysis. The final page of this chapter has been written. It's only a matter of time before we all get to read it.